What we say is that every frustration in your company is the result of the lack of a process. Don't blame the employee. Don't blame yourself. Blame the fact that you don't have a set of documented instructions that someone in that position could follow. A set of instructions that tells them what you need them to do and what you expect of them when they do it. And these instructions, they need to be easily found and they need to be current. But processes can be tricky. You might think that all you need is a document describing the sequential workflow. Do this, then do that. It's what we call a work plan. But then you realize, it might be helpful to have a checklist for maybe tracking progress, or a spreadsheet template, or a Word document, or a PowerPoint presentation, or a script. And what you quickly realize is that a process is actually a very complicated thing. It has a lot of parts. How do you organize all of the different parts for the same process? And if you have a couple of hundred processes, how does your staff find them when they need to use them? And how do you find them to keep them current? Well, that's why we designed the Touchstone Business System. Touchstone is designed specifically for process implementation to simplify the job of managing your operating procedures. Essentially to make directions easier to write, easier to organize, and therefore easier to find and easier to follow. But today's presentation is focused on the anatomy of a process because I think it's really important to realize all of the different elements of a process. And we're going to start at the most detailed level. Instead of starting at the top, we're going to start right smack dab all the way into the detail. Every process has a series of elements. They're what we call the process tools. These are tools that are used to explain and facilitate how to do what needs to be done. And in Touchstone, there are actually 8 process tools. These are the different tools that we have found to be necessary to really have all of the elements of a process available. Work plans, for example, these are the detailed sequential workflow. Do this, then do that, do this, then do that, etc., etc., etc. Step by step, the written instructions on how to do what needs to be done with key performance indicators, standards and behavior, expectations, and all the things that are wrapped around what most people think of a process to be. Another process tool is a checklist. A checklist is an instrument that gets completed and saved or submitted to indicate that something has been completed. Scripting, these are the words you use in some of the processes, how you answer the phone, for example. Uploaded files, these might be things like Excel templates or Microsoft Word documents or PowerPoint presentations or PDF files. Sometimes there are forms that need to be completed. Sometimes videos are necessary for training or audios are very useful for training. And sometimes there are policies that are specific to a process. So again, process tools document how things need to be done. A process then is a name given to a collection of process tools. And then a process is then linked to all of those positions that are required to follow that process. And that is why you might have 300 or 400 processes in your business, but a specific position might only have 10 or 15. And someone in that specific position, they simply need to click on their position and only those processes that they need to follow are there. So it makes it very easy to find what they need to do. Subfunctions are essentially categories used to organize processes within a key function. If we think about the sales and marketing processes in your business, there are often multiple categories. You might have lead generation processes. You might have lead conversion processes. You might have client retention processes. These are all categories of processes within a key function that we might call sales and marketing. The subfunctions are then organized within 4 key functions. This is at the highest level of the organization, and there are 4 key functions in every business. You have to get the business, so these would be all of the sales and marketing processes. You have to do the business. You have to deliver on the promise made to your new client during the sales processes. So these would be all of the client fulfillment and customer service processes. In every business, you have to run the business. These would be all of the back office operational procedures for finance, administration, human resources, and IT type processes. How do we back up the computers? How do we get rid of a virus, for example? And finally, the fourth key function, you must guide the business. These would be all of the strategic, the leadership, and the management processes for guiding the business from where it is today to where it needs to go. Once you've got all of these processes, you can start to grow the business for it to be the business of your dreams. If you don't have processes, a business tends to consume our lives. So really it comes down to, do you want this or do you want this?